sorry. As the context is already set by the keynote address by Rebecca Tavares and Soumya, talking about so many data about women's land right and empowerment, my presentation is very, very micro level study. And this is a study of secure land rights and women's empowerment with the guidance of my supervisor, Dr. Padmaja Mishra, professor in Utkal University. I take this opportunity to recognize the contribution and collaboration of Landesa team, my team at Odessa, and the other states and national office that has immensely contributed to this study. So it is the house is full of land right experts, and I don't think anyone will disagree with me when we say that land is a economic asset. It is just not an economic asset, but its ownership has got strong implication on social, cultural, and political areas. Land is a composite asset. It contributes to income, livelihood, and a lot to identity, address, and social status, more so for women and for the single women who are de facto household heads. Ownership of land is power. It is synonymous with power, and this is not just the power to have an access and control of land, but it is the power to lead a life of dignity. Land right is not effective if it is not secured. So in Landasa, we have been advocating that a lot, that land right needs to be secured first, and it has to have three components in Indian context, and very much it is into Odisha also, that the person should have a land title, the person's name should be in the record, and the person should be in physical possession. When we talk about empowerment, it is a very complex process. It is a very complex process of transformation. We have taken a lot of others' data and information, and we have reviewed a lot of literature in this regard. So when I quote Beena Agarwal and P. Panda here, that it improves status, it increases self-confidence, self-esteem. It helps women to voice a concern, have more bargaining power within the family, within the community. It reduces vulnerability and domestic violence, as already Govind Kelkar has studied it in the context of how land right reduces domestic violence. And it also increases effective participation at the community level. Uh, we have taken three things into when we talk about women's empowerment. It is essentially economic empowerment, what Rebecca has already mentioned about. And this, when we talk about economic empowerment, basically we look at it as having a decision to contribute and control families' income, expenditure, saving and investment, autonomy to gain control over economic resources, household level, community level, capacity to live a life of dignity with our own income and contributing to the income. Social empowerment, it is the ability to decide own movement, even food, work, bargaining power within family, within community, voicing opinion. And political empowerment is having a say on exercising rights, having access to entitlements, take part in community development, maybe village development, rural development. So we have developed a model of secure land right and empowerment when women has access and control over land, how it has got multifaceted impact and how it helps her gaining the empowerment. It again says about it helps her in participation in Polisabha or the village meeting, participation in community level, Having a member of SSG group, it helps in decision making power. She decides her mobility, food, work, decision making power over expenditure, saving, investment, independent income, and control over income. So overall, it is a very, very complex, and it is a model of empowerment of women post land rights. So, in this context, we have tried to study that whether secure land right is an enabling factor in rural women's economic empowerment, and then also whether it leads to social and political empowerment of women. So this is a very, very micro level study, and as we wanted to see the pre and post land right impact, so we have taken the areas where land rights have been, titles have been given, and essentially it is in the land assess working area. We have, this is the sample that we have taken 3 districts and 3 villages in each block of a district. The total sample is of 146 respondents with land rights and 146 respondents without land rights. So as I mentioned that we are seeing 2 comparative analysis. One is pre and post secure land rights. The other is women with secure land right and without secure land rights. Data collection methodology have been, we have interviewed men and women, personal interviews. Key informants have been interviewed like Anganwadi workers, the community resource persons. Here I would like to mention that since we have worked in the Landesa's operation area, Landesa has designed a model, community resource person model, that there are some village youth who have been trained to help women get their land rights in the villages. We have interviewed them, then village level workers, and we have done focus group discussion with PRI members, government officials, and NGO professionals, including Landes and others also. So when we have tried to measure the economic empowerment that the global data and other data is saying, we wanted to check that whether it is happening on the ground. So we have taken certain indicators for that. And for as regards the economic empowerment, we have taken indicators like self-independent income, control over income, and economic decision-making power, own engagement in work versus leisure, spending, saving, and investment. Similarly, we have taken indicators for social empowerment, own mobility, participation in community programs, the women becomes member in SSG group. Indicator for political empowerment, we have taken like exercising electoral rights, whether the women is going to cast vote, participation in village level meetings, Gaon Kalyan Samiti, the rural development meetings. And also we have seen that whether the women have gone ahead for contesting panchayat level elections. The methodology of data analysis, we have taken Likert scale to measure that the respondents' response, like always independently decides 3, then often decides 2, and sometimes 1, and if she doesn't decide at all is 0. And we have constructed empowerment index on that basis for the 3 like economic empowerment, social empowerment, and political empowerment, and taken a summation of that. So it has clearly come out like in the pre-land right situation, the economic empowerment index has been 0.85, social empowerment index has been 0.86, and political empowerment index is 0.22. So final is 1.93. And without secure land rights, because as I mentioned that we have compared in 2 ways. Without land rights, it is economic empowerment is 1.6, social empowerment is 1.26, and political empowerment is 0.80. So the summation is 3.66. And post land right, it is considerably high. And economic empowerment index is 2.21, social empowerment is 2.2, and political empowerment is 1.2. So it is 5.61. There has been clear outcome of empowerment which we have measured, that we have seen that safe housing, women have got safe housing, about 61% women compared to pre-land right situation of 20 something. There are women have got dug well, about 8%, and kitchen garden and poultry. We have found that 53% respondents have got it after land rights in compared to 18% in the pre-land right situation. Then we have also measured that whether women have got skill training or not. So pre-land right situation, it was 0. And post-land right situation, it is considerably high, about 69%. And access to government schemes, because it is very, very essential for rural women when we talk about women having land right and they didn't have land at all and they're starting from scratches. So accessing to government services is very, very vital, that we have seen. And it is seen that about 52% women have accessed it post land right, and prior it was less than 10. And access to high school education, because we've seen that in rural areas, that accessing high school education by the community like SC/ST, they need a residency certificate. So land right essentially helps in that, to access higher education in government run schools, particularly the residential high schools. And we have got that it is more than 30%, about 38% have sent their children to high school post land right situation. And we have seen that there is a considerable improvement in the food basket. I wouldn't say that food security, but it is considerably improved food basket. Just 2 minutes. So we have seen that families where women have got land right, they have started consuming egg once in a week, and a fish in bi-weekly. So that is also seen. There is increase in farm producers and farm income, and they have opened up bank accounts. There is also increase in job card. Women have become members of SHG groups. It is also very encouraging that 70 plus percent, about 76% women have become the member of SHG groups, and they are participating in village meetings and contributing to the rural development. Access to farm inputs also considerably high, about 68%. I would say two case studies very quickly. This is a woman from Khariband of Ganjam district, Raibari Sabara. She was landless earlier, and she thought of suiciding number of times because she didn't have food and she had a small kid to raise. After land rights, actually she is completely settled and has got house and all. And this is a case of a village, Gulel village in Koraput, where 22 women have formed a SAG group. They have accessed a government aided livelihood program where they have got 400 chicks, and they are earning an income of 3,500 to 5,000 per month now. So, but however, I would say that this secure land right and empowerment, it is not causal. It is an secure land right is a enabling factor in empowering women, and it is very, very conditional to these points like size of plot, where a women can grow vegetable or do some productive activity. And accessibility to land is also very, very important, because 1 minute. Because if land is not accessible, then it wouldn't impact much. Then accessing input, as I already mentioned, is very, very important. And having the knowledge of use of land matters a lot. And of course, the legal literacy. Thank you so much.